Good afternoon. How's everybody doing? Hopefully we'll have some people joining us here in a minute for our June Conversations with a Winner series that we're doing here at NSHSS each month. It's the third Thursday of every month at 5 p.m. Eastern. We are very lucky today to have Rishi joining us. And I'll let you introduce yourself in just a minute. My name is Leslie Walton. I'm your member engagement manager, which means that I get to work with our incredible leadership groups, our educators, volunteers, and general members to help improve programming at NSHSS so that we can provide our members with what they find valuable or what they need to be successful in their academic career. Nikki I from the scholarships team will be joining us just a minute. But first of all, I just wanted to talk about Rishi a little bit and how I met him and how he came to be a part of the Collegiate Council Executive Board. Rishi was a panelist at Scholars Day DC in 2019, so long ago, pre-pandemic, and was suggested to me by Karen Kane, the GOAT, who said that he would make an excellent representative on the board for scholarships because she was so impressed by everything that he had to say and the advice that he had to offer during that panel at Scholars Day. So I reached out. Rishi was very gracious with his time and has been over this past year to be a part of the board and offered some great advice and is always willing to help. He attends Johns Hopkins University, if you can't tell by the shirt. And also for those of you who are interested in Scholars Day DC, we will have the pleasure of Rishi's company and his expertise live and in person because he will be there representing the Collegiate Council Executive Board during Scholars Day DC. You can find all of that information on our website under the events page. It is the first weekend in August 6th through 7th. But without any more delay, Rishi, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
Sure. So thank you so much for having me today, Leslie. I am one of the speakers in the Conversations with a Winner series. I am one of the winners that will be speaking with you today. And the things that I have won are scholarships, internships, and college admissions. As Leslie noted, I am a student at the Johns Hopkins University, and I'm also the co-vice president of scholarships on the NSHSS Student Council. So that means I offered my advice to students when it comes to all things scholarships, and I look at the scholarship requirements and see if they are fair for all the students. Those are the things that I've been involved with in the past, and I think I love being here, and I'd love to share my experience with you all today. Leslie, am I good to go with just starting to speak?
Absolutely. I think Nikki is coming in, so maybe we'll just let her wave hi quick. Nikki, would you like to introduce yourself really quickly?
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Nikki I, and I am actually the Scholarships and Communications Manager with NSHSS. So I am all things scholarships. So yeah, it's great to have Rishi here, our amazing scholarship winner, who's won quite a few awards himself. So we always love having that. Hello everyone.
Perfect. Thanks for introducing yourself, Nikki. So I'll get started.
Rishi, I wanted to do a little housekeeping for our attendees. If you would like to just see Rishi, make sure to click in the upper corner where it says view, and you can change to speaker view. So you just see Rishi if you only want to see his face, and you can look at us later because you've seen Nikki and I before. I mean, it's your call, but I just wanted to do a little housekeeping. And then if you have any questions for Rishi that come up while he's speaking, go ahead and drop those in the chat and he can get to them during the Q&A part. Go ahead, Rishi. Thanks so much.
Of course. Thank you. So as I noted before, the things that I'm going to be speaking about today are scholarships, internships, and just college admissions in general. And I've noticed that with all the things that you apply for, there's really 4 phases to them. The first phase is the searching phase. The second phase is the application phase. The third phase is the rejection phase if you happen to get declined from whatever you're applying for. And the fourth phase is the involvement phase if you happen to get accepted to whatever you're applying for. And I wanted to speak about each of these phases, each of the 3 each of scholarships, internships, and college applications today. And we can start with scholarships. When it comes to searching for scholarships, I would recommend just searching for whatever you are interested in. I personally am an engineering major. I major in computer science at Hopkins. And as such, I searched for scholarships that were relevant to my major. That led me to, within NSHSS, look for the research paper scholarship that we had, because I had previously written a research paper in high school and I was able to submit it. And I won one of the scholarships that we have through NSHSS. Another thing that I looked for was a scholarship from Northrop Grumman, because they offered many to students that live in Maryland. And I was able to get that because I had a relevant major and because I lived in like a good geographic location for that scholarship. So my best advice to you is to look for things that you're interested in and that are relevant to your major. NSHSS comes into this picture because we have quite a few different scholarships. We offer quite a few different ones, and they're not all just for one subject. For example, we have scholarships for leadership. We have scholarships for, I believe, initiatives and entrepreneurship. We have scholarships for STEM fields, and we have scholarships for art fields. I guarantee if you have an interest in it, NSHSS has a scholarship for you. So don't forget to include us in your scholarship search. But keep in mind, there's also things outside of NSHSS that might interest you. Specifically, I suppose, look for things that come from your university, and look for things from third-party organizations. Like maybe there's a company that you really want to work for one day. They offer a scholarship. And I guess my best advice to you on where to look is that look where I guess you might not necessarily expect it, because everyone is trying to get in on helping the younger generation get the education they need. And even if you think a certain company or organization may not have a scholarship, take a look at their website and I guarantee you that they have something. So that's my advice when it comes to looking for scholarships and how NSHSS can be involved in that process. When it comes to applying for scholarships, I say take a careful look at what the requirements are for each one. For NSHSS, typically what's required is a resume, a transcript, a letter of recommendation, and some kind of letter of interest or essay question from you. Those four things are pretty standard when it comes to applying for scholarships. When it comes to transcripts, that's pretty straightforward. Get them from your school and submit them. When it comes to resumes, I believe, I'm not sure if we have a resume review system here in NSHSS, but if you are in our NSHSS Slack, then I guarantee you can, type in chat, I need help with reviewing my resume, and there would be people who are more than willing to help you do that. So I think we at NSHSS might not have the formal resources to help you out, but we have the people that are willing to help you out with those things. And I guess when it comes to getting letters of recommendation, and this applies for really scholarships, internships, and college applications, just, I guess, look to staff and teachers in your school, or maybe even outside of your school, that you've worked with closely and that have a good idea of the skills you possess. I'll give you two examples from people that I asked for recommendations from. One of which was a leader. He's an adult. He's a leader in the 4-H club that we have here in Maryland. It's just a club where I got to mentor certain youth in fields like rocketry, and I got to be like a camp counselor for our summer camps. And the staff that I asked for, who was on 4-H, he'd worked with me for a while and on quite a few different things. And so he had a good sense of how I was able to speak with kids and educate them about certain things. And so he is an example of someone who had a good idea of the speaking skills that I possessed. And another example of someone I asked for a recommendation was my robotics mentor from high school, because I had been in robotics for 4 years. She had seen me succeed. She'd also seen me struggle. And I feel like she had a good idea of what kind of engineer I could grow up to be. And so that was a person that I was very keen on asking for a letter of recommendation. So just in summary, ask for letters from people who are very familiar with your skills. And it doesn't just have to come from your school. And finally, when it comes to essays, the most straightforward thing you can do is just answer the question that the essay gives if there is a minimum word limit, try to hit that, but still try to be concise. And if there's a maximum word limit, then don't worry about being too far under it. Just get your message across, answer the question clearly, and have your essay reviewed by someone, either in NSHSS chat or by a grammar service like Grammarly. And so those are the things that go into a scholarship application. And finally, there's the scholarship involvement. And that can vary from scholarship to scholarship. Some scholarships, like my Northrop Grumman scholarship, they say you need to take an internship. If you are offered an internship for the summer, you are required to take it. That's their condition. And so that's as far as my involvement goes. But for other scholarships, it might be more involved. In this part, I would just say, please just stay, just do your research on what your scholarship requires. If you have a point person that you need to reach out to for your scholarship, reach out to them and ask if you can, what you have to do to retain your scholarship. But usually they will be like those guidelines given to you when you win your scholarship. So maybe it's a GPA guideline, maybe it's a service requirement, et cetera, et cetera. And so I guess the main overarching thing when it comes to scholarships is just to do your research, because every scholarship is different. And it's sort of similar when it comes to college applications. But before I forget, let me talk about the all-important rejection phase, which will happen to you a lot. If you happen to get declined from a scholarship, I would just say don't worry about it, because there will be other scholarships out there. You can always apply for them if you're smart with your time. And if you feel like this is something you were gonna definitely get before you even applied for it, then maybe you need to take a step back and realize that there are other applicants who might be equally or more talented than you are, and it's not a mark on you. As long as you put 100% effort into your application and into really the academics and the extracurriculars in your life, you can't fault yourself for where you are. So just take a deep breath, relax, keep applying, and I guarantee you will get a scholarship from somewhere. Last thing I want to mention before I forget is don't forget to apply for scholarships that are related to financial aid as well, especially those that come from the state and from the broader US government, because I have several senatorial and delegate scholarships that did not come like for free with me submitting my FAFSA. I had to submit a separate application for those. And oftentimes, if you go to a college within your home state, then those senatorial and delegate scholarships will apply. That was my case because I grew up in Maryland. Actually, I'm in Maryland right now. And the senators and delegates that are in my state, they are helping fund my college experience at Johns Hopkins because I'm in Maryland. So I think that's a resource that's often overlooked, the senatorial and delegate scholarships that come from the government that can really give you an extra boost in helping you pay for college. So yeah, that's as far as scholarships go. When it comes to college applications, things are slightly different, obviously, because there's more weight on every college application. When it comes to a scholarship, you can apply for one. If you don't get in, no big deal. There's tons of others. But when it comes to a college, you're applying for a 4-year experience in what could possibly change your life. So I understand if there's a bit more weight behind it. When it comes to searching for colleges, again, it's based on your interests. If you like STEM, apply for a STEM college like MIT, like the Carnegie Mellons, or like something like University of Maryland. If you're interested in the arts, look into a liberal arts college, et cetera, et cetera. That's the pretty basic advice. But I guess also consider the finances of the place that you're applying for. If you're applying for a college that is really amazing and you have the stats to get it, but it looks to be a bit out of your price range and their financial aid policy isn't too friendly to you, there's no shame in going to your state school and saving that little bit of money that could really help set you up after your career. Because I guarantee you that it isn't so much what opportunities you get, but what you make of the opportunities you do receive. That was something one of my professors told me this past semester, and it's certainly true because I guarantee that even though I go to Johns Hopkins, I would be able to find almost equal opportunities if I had gone to my state school, which is the University of Maryland. I know for a fact that they have a great computer science program, they have great extracurriculars, and they have great internship opportunities that come with it. So I would say when it comes to searching, search within your price range, but also search for the things that you're interested in. When it comes to applying for colleges, the requirements are very similar to scholarships. Obviously, you have to fill your FAFSAs and your CSS for your financial aid. And you also have to fill either the coalition or the Common App. Most colleges go with either one of the two, or they have their own thing. Just do your research on what the college requires and ask your school counselors for help if you need it. And when it comes for the items in the college application, normally it comes with the same thing as a scholarship: a transcript, a resume. Usually the resume is optional. A transcript, resume, essay. There's like the personal essays that come with the college, and then there's like the main Common App or coalition essay. There's plenty of advice out there on how to write for those, but I would say the best advice I have for any essay of any kind is just to answer the question, do it directly, do it concisely, and make it personal, because at the end of the day, these essays are all about you. And transcript, pretty straightforward, requested from your school. I know things can, like, when it comes to requesting official transcripts, it can seem a bit bureaucratic and slow, but that's just the way things are. Stay accountable. Make sure your counselors are accountable to you. So, make sure to email them. You can almost never email them too frequently when it comes to things of importance, like a college application. Just make sure they're caught up with the status of your business. And so that's just about all I have for college applications. I would say one last thing is don't be afraid of applying to many, many different colleges. I know that there are restrictions if you want to apply to early decision versus early action versus regular decision. But when it comes to the application schedule, if you're dead set on a college, early decision is a great choice, because as you guys may or may not know, they lock you into going there if you're able to get in. But if you're not so sure on a college, don't be afraid to push it to regular decision, because as I mentioned before, it's not about what college you get into, but what you make out of it once you get there. And then this time I'm going to start with a rejection phase, because that will happen to you quite often as you apply to colleges. And it can be a bit harder with colleges than it is with scholarships, because, this is a 4-year experience. This is big stuff. And you might think that it has something to do with your self-worth. And I certainly did when I got rejected from multiple colleges. But at the end of the day, it really doesn't. It's just a simple numbers game. There's such a large volume of talented students applying for college that the university might just think that they're a better fit for their program than you are. But that's not at all an indictment on your talent. I would say if you put a lot of work into what you do, and you apply to colleges and you still don't get it, like, just try your best to brush it off. Take a deep breath, talk to your parents, talk to your friends. I know it can be really, really tough, but you've got this. In all sincerity, put in the work to get it. And whatever college you get into, make a good 4 years out of it, because you can certainly make a good experience no matter where you go. But now let's talk about the fun part, which is the involvement once you get to college. Obviously, the involvement once you get there is just to go there, to take classes, but it can be so much more than that. You can join clubs and activities to find like-minded people in the fields that you're interested in. You can do research like we have at Hopkins. Shameless plug, we have the largest undergrad research program in the university, at least by our budget. And so there will be opportunities for you to get involved with university operations. And I would say try to give back to your community, whether that's doing a research project on some impactful research, whether that's doing service to your community, whether that's joining a club that contributes something positively. I guarantee that there is at least one program in which you can contribute positively to both yourself and to the college community. I'll give you a specific example. I was able to do development in one of my classes for a website called Semesterly. That's semester.ly if you want to look it up. And I was one of the developers for that this past semester as a part of a class. What it is a scheduling software. Students can can create schedules there for the next semester before they start applying to their for their classes, before they start like registering for them. And we get official data from the school to help facilitate that about what classes are going to be held next semester, what time they're going to be held at, what professors are going to be teaching. Essentially, it's just a better scheduling method for the students. And I think myself and all the other developers on the semesterly team have helped out our community quite a bit, because we've provided the students a clear way to choose what they want to take next semester. And we're even trying to expand that piece of software, because what I did this past semester is take Semesterly, which was already an established technology at the point that I started working on it, and try to add kind of an advisor feature to it. So we noted in the computer science department that there were so many faculty, and only so many faculty, and there were like tons and tons of students. So the advisor to advisee ratio was not very favorable, because each professor would have like so many advisees that they had to speak to and communicate with. And so we thought, maybe having some sort of a chat feature or a schedule sharing feature would help facilitate advising and make it a little bit smoother. And it did. I was on a team with many other developers, and we all were able to come up with, I guess, a presentable but albeit incomplete product by the end of the semester that can be worked on in the months to come. And I think the Semesterly team, I'm not on it anymore, but the Semesterly team is planning to put that into deployment, at least for Johns Hopkins, this fall. So, that's an example of a project that I was able to take part of. It wasn't extracurricular, but I was able to take part in it. And I both gained the coding skills and gave something back to my community. So those projects are the kinds that I would look out for when it comes to college involvement. And I would say the college experience trademark is something you very much look forward to upon reaching college. The ability to see your friends whenever, wherever, because people are so accessible when you're in college. I know whenever I want to hang out with my friend, they're literally just a text away, because we live so close to each other. So be sure to take advantage of that. Try to make friends. One of the ways you can do that is by joining a club, or just finding people from your classes, or any other way, really. I would say try to meet people, try to form connections. These are really friendships that can last a long time. And if you find yourself, with not as many friends as you'd like, don't beat yourself up about it. It happens, and it's going to happen in events like this, like in a pandemic where you really can't get as much interaction as we'd all like to. But I would say just do your best, put yourself out there. Don't be afraid of meeting new people and maybe doing different things than you've done in high school. Join a photography club, join a painting club, do things that you hadn't done before, because right now these things are accessible to you. These kind of clubs are walking distance away from where you live, or in some cases they're right on your computer screen, because most things are done over Zoom, let's be honest, at least for now. And I just want to point out to you that these things are very, very accessible, especially in college. So do take advantage of them if you see them. And if you feel like there's a program or a club or something that your school is missing, don't be afraid to go to your administration and be like, I want to start this thing, because it's people like you that make a real impact on your student body. Because if you find that there's other students that are also interested in the thing that you're interested in, and yet there isn't a club about that at your school, don't be afraid to start it. Give it a shot, put some time into it, and you never know what could come of it. And I guess the last thing that I want to speak about when you attend college is the beginning of a kind of work-life balance, because so many people don't really think about that in high school, but it's really important when you come to college, because you're basically living there. How do you know how much time you can give to homework versus hanging out with your friends versus doing this one club that you really like versus doing research? It can get to be a real mess. And I will say you will have to make certain sacrifices, because depending upon your time commitments for things, you probably won't be able to commit time to everything you want to. But I would say, don't really waste your time, because that's the one harmful thing that you can do to yourself. And if you find that being committed to something that's, extracurricular is really, really stressing you out, don't be afraid to drop it and let it go in favor of something that's a little higher priority. This is just a part of life. Don't be afraid to do that. And it's a balancing act. It really is. You'll hear conflicting advice like, oh, don't be afraid to be involved in so many different things and make a real impact. And, oh, I just told you to not be afraid to drop things. But I think really you need to look at your situation, gauge what's important to you, and really commit to those things. My advice to you is really to put time into your classes first and foremost, because your transcripts and the things that are on your transcript will certainly impact your career outside of or after college. And I would say the next most important thing is just socialization. Go out, make some friends, do some homework with friends. I had a teacher that allowed for group work this past semester, and thank God I needed it because it was a really tough class. But I worked with one of my friends on homework every week, and we were in Zoom calls really late at night trying to cram and get things done. And it was a great experience, not only because I wasn't alone doing these super, super hard problems, but also because I was able to, make some small talk and discuss things outside of class while we were doing homework. So I would say try to be social. It really, really helps with the college experience. And just prioritize your schoolwork above all else. So that's all the advice that I have when it comes to college involvement. Let's then skip over to internships, which are a precursor to doing real work. Now, most of the time, internships are things that you take over the summer. That's at least how my experience has been, but I know some people who have internships that they've taken during the school year as well. But I'll be speaking to my summer internship experience. When it comes to finding internships, just look again. I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. Look for things that you're interested in, because internships can be a real good time for career development. Let's say you're in college and you're majoring in engineering, but you find that you don't like it so much. Well, then don't be afraid to apply. Let's say you like economics and finance a bit more. Don't be afraid to apply to internships that are outside your major as well, because even if you don't have experience with them, if you make a good enough impression to the people that you're applying to, you can probably get it. And it's a great way to kind of dip your toes into something else that you may not see, all the time in college. Now, I'm in engineering, I'm computer science, and I like it a lot. So I do computer science internships. But the point being, apply to something you're interested in, whether that's in your major or whether that's not, because I know quite a few people who weren't happy with their major and they switched. So, don't be afraid, first and foremost, to switch from your major, and don't be afraid to apply out to things that are outside your major. And speaking of applications, let's speak about that. The one thing that you're going to get in internships that you probably won't get, you could get in scholarships and college applications, but you probably won't, are interviews. Your prospective employer is going to speak with you to determine your skill set, to determine your fit with the company. And I would just say, put your best foot forward. Go over your resume again, go over your experiences about, what have you done with teamwork? What have you done with leadership? What's your technical experience in the past, if they ask about that? Because they will certainly pull from your past. They will ask you questions, and the only real reference you have to answer them are your past experiences. So my best advice with an interview is have kind of a cheat sheet in front of you. Write down the things that you've done, and I do this all the time. Write down things that are on your resume, write down things that are on your transcripts, write down interesting experiences that you've had that are relevant to the internship. Like this past semester, I interviewed for an internship in communications technology, which is one that I have right now. It's with the Johns Hopkins University Applied Physics Lab. And I wrote about in my cheat sheet, I wrote down things that I had done in the past that related to engineering. So I think this cheat sheet can be widely helpful when it comes to giving you information that you pull from in interview questions. And if they ask you technical questions, they probably won't be too difficult unless you're applying to like a Google or an Amazon, in which case you should probably practice on a website like LeetCode. I know that's really helpful for CS students, and there's probably other resources out there for people of other majors. But I would say do your research into what these applications require. And again, this applies to everything and it's so general, but really do your research into what these applications require and how you can fulfill those requirements. Because knowing what you're getting into before you go into an interview, before you start an application, will really, really help you complete it on time and do it proficiently. And as for the other items in the internship application, they're mostly the same, except there is a much bigger emphasis on your resume. Let me talk about this for a little while because I actually have a mentor at APL, and she gave me some really great advice when it came to my resume. Now, my resume is super dense because I try to put everything I've done on there. But from what I can tell, that's really not the right way to go at it. You want your resume to be a basic summary. You want it to be eye candy. You want to put big titles and general themes and the general things that you've done on your resume. You want to put lots of space, and you want to make the font big and legible. Don't have it be too intimidating or have put too many things, because detail is good, but there's a place for that. The piece of advice that I got from my mentor is to make your resume kind of sparse, but to put links on your resume to a personal website, and you can use Weebly to make one, your LinkedIn, and if you're a computer science student, do link your GitHub. These three things are vital. And GitHub, not so much for people outside computer science, but your personal website and your LinkedIn can be really vital for your resume. Because when I got this piece of advice, I was like, when I got the advice to maybe trim down my resume, I'm like, but wait, there's so much detail that I'm losing. You don't have to lose that detail if you just move it somewhere else. The way it's basically going to work is your reviewer is going to look at your resume and see these big keywords like if you want to if you're going to be a social media manager, they're going to see graphic design and say, oh, this person has a good sense for what looks good aesthetically. And then they're going to click on maybe a link to your portfolio or something like that. The way it works generally, as I just described, is you put general things on your resume. And then if you want to go more specific, you can do that on a personal website or LinkedIn. But please keep your LinkedIn up to date. You can make a personal website if you want. That's super helpful. But link those things in your resume so your reviewer has the opportunity to go into more detail about you if you want to. But the most important thing is to leave your resume as kind of like a sparse thing and to have the detail kind of in the back end on your website and on the LinkedIn. That resume is actually a pretty big piece of the internship application. That's not so big in scholarships and college applications, because your resume is a general list of things you've done. That's the main document that describes you. So put work into that if you can. And when it comes to the other items in your the application for internships, they're much the same as they are for scholarships and for college apps. And I've already gone over those. Won't go over those again. When it comes to internship rejections, yeah, it can hurt because that's a whole summer's worth of experience that you just missed out on. But again, don't take it personally. There's lots of applicants out there, and there's lots of internships that you can apply for. It's sort of in that in between scholarships and college applications that it's not quite as disposable. I say disposable. It's not quite as replaceable as a scholarship. That's a better word. But it's a bit it's a bit less replaceable than a college. This is a summer experience as far as I've seen, but don't be afraid of rejection. Just apply to whatever you're interested in. And if you get rejected, so be it. There's lots of other opportunities out there. And if you think it's getting down to like the last minute when it comes to summer applications, like I know for me, late would constitute like March or April before I'm about to hit summer. I would say reach out to your school, reach out to professors, because if you're doing, I guess, engineering work, or if you're doing work within your department, lots of professors would be okay with having a student over the summer. At Hopkins, at least, it's as easy as reaching out to them by email. It might work differently at different schools once you're in college, but there are opportunities within your school for summer work. Don't be afraid to explore those as well, and don't be afraid to explore other avenues if you find any. And finally, the really, really fun part is the internship involvement. A lot of work is paid, especially if you're a college intern, but if you're high school, a lot of it will be by volunteer, but you're getting such good value out of it that it probably doesn't need to be paid. And sometimes people will pay you for high school internships as well. That was my experience, at least with internships that I had back in high school. But they will be paid. Make sure you give your employer the time that they ask for. If they ask for 40 hours a week, give that. If you're a part-time, give that as well. And I would say be accountable to your intern supervisor. I have two right now because I'm working on two projects and I communicate with both of them pretty often. I communicate with anyone that I work with. And yeah, I would say communication is key. And the biggest piece of advice I have is look to contribute something to the program that you're in, because when you're an intern, you might not be a full-time employee, but you are an employee nonetheless, and they are expecting a contribution out of you, and it's on you to give that contribution, whatever it may be. And I would say you would get more out of your internship if you put more into it. Because I know that if I put more work into my internship right now, I'll get more experience with coding and presentations and hardware than I would if I didn't. It's really that simple. And I would say if you try to achieve something and you fail in your internship, like don't worry about it. The whole point is that you tried, and as long as you stay accountable to your internship manager, they can't fault you for trying and failing, because at the end of the day, you're an intern. You're there to gain experience. You're there to try to contribute something to the team. And if you try to contribute something to the team and it really doesn't work out in like an understandable way, don't worry about it. You can still make a really great presentation and have a great experience based off of that. And I guarantee that if you put a lot of effort into it, you will learn something from it. And so that's what I have for internship involvement. And I guess, where does NSHSS play into scholarships, internships, and college? Well, for scholarships, we offer plenty. Myself as a co-VP of scholarships, and Nikki as someone on the NSHSS staff who deals with scholarships, we know that we offer plenty of opportunities for many, for like a diverse number of interests. So look into our page and see what there is for you that you can apply for. When it comes to internships, NSHSS can help because we have partner organizations like 3M and the CIA that you can apply for internships through. We are partnered with them right now, and we have programs for that. So look into that if you can. And also, and then finally, I guess for college applications, we have many resources on our website to help you with essays and stuff, and the application items. And if you're involved with leadership, things like the ambassadors or student council, and you work closely with someone like Leslie, like Karen Kane, or like Nikki, don't be afraid to ask them for recommendations, because they will write them for you if you've done work closely with them and you've made an impact on the programs that they're currently floating. And I guess through all these three things, the one general thing I can say NSHSS can help you with is people. Even if we don't have a formal program for it, I guarantee you we've got the manpower to contribute some valuable information to your application experience. Because if you don't know something about an application or how the pay works at a certain company, just ask in our Slack and you will get a good answer, because we have so many different people from so many different backgrounds. And if one of us doesn't know it, we probably know like where you can go to get your answers. So I would say just through all of this, don't forget that NSHSS has the people to help you with whatever your endeavors may be, whether that comes through to scholarships, whether that comes to internships or college applications. And so I guess for a final summary, just now in my talk, I talked about scholarships, internships, and college applications. I noted that they have 4 phases. That's the search phase, the application phase, the rejection phase, if that happens to you, and the involvement phase, if you happen to get accepted. And the big overarching theme is just do your research, be accountable to the people once you are involved, and don't forget that NSHSS is here to help. And so, Leslie, that's really all that I've got when it came to my notes. If you want to open it up to questions, I'm more than willing to answer those. And if there aren't any, I'm glad I've already answered the questions that you have.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rishi. That was amazing. Nikki and I are over here like chatting and kind of just like, yes, 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 that's a great point. You're like, I don't even know where to begin. But I think one of the things I would like to do is just touch on a few resources that we do have available on the website for some of those stages that you mentioned that could help everyone. I mean, first and foremost, and I'm going to kind of jump the gun with Nikki here, the scholarships that we have available on our website. They change and they're updated. And even if a scholarship has closed, there may be a second phase to it. So you always want to stay up to date, but I'll let Nikki talk about that a little bit more. And then I think, some of the stuff that you talked about where the students need to prepare in terms of what it takes to get your resume ready or that college application, we do have some resources that are on the past webinars page, and I'm going to list those. Two of our fellows have done, Morgan did a resume writing workshop, Resume Writing 101. She's our fellows executive board president. And then we have a leveraging your LinkedIn profile workshop that's on there. And then we also have a really great webinar with our members and advisors who helped to create the Internship Readiness Certification Program. So I think those are some great resources where people could get started to kind of, get ahead in those 4 stages that you've been talking about. So yeah, I'll let Nikki jump in now so she can ask you a few questions, whatever she has for you.
Leslie, I'll be honest, I'm not sure I have many questions. Rishi, I was joking over here that you could run our webinars with all your great information. We are so grateful to have such a wonderful individual, helping out with our collegiate council and also, with being a scholarship winner yourself. I am going to throw out here really quickly that, Rishi had some amazing nuggets of information. And what's really great too is that coming up in July, we'll actually be kind of breaking down the whole process of applying and winning for scholarship money, how to find the scholarships that you really want and where to go, and the whole process from start to finish. So take a look at that. We'll be doing that on July 8th at 7 p.m. So you can actually register on our website here. I think, Leslie, if you don't mind dropping that link in the chat. Oh, you're already on it. So we've got that there coming up as well. But yeah, so Rishi, one of the things I absolutely loved that you touched on was how emphasizing that rejection and, failure in essence is not a bad thing, but more than anything, it can be a motivator and it can be something that has, pushed you forward into something bigger and better. Have you had an experience like that? Like maybe, for instance, a scholarship you really wanted, or a program or a class or something that you really, really were excited about and it didn't quite work out, but you were able to find something perhaps maybe even better after the fact?
Sure. So one college that I really wanted to go to was Purdue University, because they had a cool honors college where you get to do this kind of this work with, like, how do you say it, interdisciplinary engineering, and you get to work with different people, not even in engineering, but they give you problems and you get to come up with solutions to those problems in really creative ways. And I honestly thought I had it in the bag because I'd worked on my grades a lot, and I'd gotten to the Maryland Honors College before that, but I didn't get it. And I was, sort of disappointed. I'm like, oh, that's really not that great. And this was pretty early on in the application cycle. But then later on, I applied to Hopkins. I really wanted to get in. It wasn't one of the things that my first choices, because they're primarily known for their medical school. But I did get in, and it's been a great experience so far because their computer science program, in my opinion, is pretty great. It pushes me pretty hard, but I learned a lot of things from it. So yeah, that's one example of a time that I had failed, or I didn't get, what I expected to, but I was able to find an experience that was equivalent or even better. I'm sure Purdue's honors college program is amazing. And it's unfortunate that I wasn't able to take part in it, but I'm glad I'm getting this experience now because there's a lot of positives from this as well.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. And, one of the other things I wanted to touch on too was that, I've noticed that, not only were you able to do passion projects with NSHSS in 2019, you also had academic paper, and you were also able to do, last year you got the Collegiate Council Leadership Scholarship. So you've luckily been able to take part in, quite a few different, varieties there. So that's great to be able to show your range, because a lot of those programs were about leadership, or a lot of those programs were about, a paper you did or a great idea you had, so I know that you're very engineering minded, and we love that. But I guess my other question would be, do you have any advice for anyone who is having a hard time trying to find something to apply for scholarship wise or program wise, or even settling on a major kind of a thing? What kind of advice would you have for someone who's struggling to kind of find that niche for themselves?
Sure. So actually, I completely understand what you're saying, because all the advice that I've given so far has started with, oh, what are you interested in? What are you interested in? But not everyone knows that at my age, or really any age. Some people take a while to settle on what they like. So I would say, be kind to yourself first and foremost. If you don't know what you want to do, and you see people around you being like, oh, I'm going to go to this school and do this thing, man, don't worry about it. Take it easy. You're on this journey, and you're here to put yourself in the best situation possible. But if you don't know what that situation is going to look like yet, I would say don't worry about it. If you are looking for things that you're interested in, the only way that you can learn whether or not you're interested in them is to try them. So that means, go to college, try. I know there's a general studies major in a lot of colleges, where you get to kind of pick and choose things that you think you might be interested in, or they put you in programs that you can try. When it comes to internships, just apply to whatever, really. Don't be afraid of applying to something that you might not like, because you might like it. And if you get an experience that you don't like, then that's one thing that you get to cross off your list. Obviously, in the moment, it's going to be like, oh my God, I'm doing this, I don't like this at all. But that's just, that's part of the learning process. And I think it's important for people to go through that and find out things they don't like. But one thing you really can't do for yourself is kind of stay static, because if you expect the thing you like doing to come out of nowhere and sort of find you, that doesn't happen often. And I would say it happens more often if you put yourself out there, because if you put yourself out there, there's a higher chance that things will come and find you by accident. So I guess don't be afraid either of sort of what I like to call them adjacent experiences that aren't like directly what you're doing right now. But let's say, like, right now I'm in an internship, and we have an intern project that we got to do. That project isn't my main tasking that I have for the summer, but it's something that's adjacent. And you can give something like that a shot, and see if what you like are more along those lines. Don't be afraid of trying things, widening your road a little bit when you're traveling through finding things that you like doing.
Absolutely. Oh, that was so great. I love that. All right, Rishi, I just got one more question for you. It's summertime, and here at NSHSS, it's when typically we have the biggest number of brand new members or potential members join the society. And, I wanted to ask you, as someone who has, been involved with the society and has been able to take part in not only, scholarships, but also with our leadership programs with the Collegiate Council, if you had 3 pieces of advice to new members of NSHSS or potential members, what would you say were your 3 things that really you just got so much benefit out of being part of NSHSS?
So number 1 is the ability to start my own initiatives. I had an initiative where, I would say it didn't really go anywhere, because it sort of fizzled out a few months ago. But it was great because I was able to start it with the help of a few of my NSHSS friends. It was an initiative to help out college or high school students that were applying to college in the time of COVID, because obviously requirements were changing. You didn't require SATs so much. Your college experience itself is changing, and so we wanted to put together resources here and there that could help out students in their endeavors to reach college. And, as I said, unfortunately, kind of fizzled out because school got busy, and now that things are going back to normal, and I guess more resources are more out there for people. Our service isn't quite so necessary anymore. But I would say number one is the opportunity to start my own things based on a need that I see in the world. The next thing is just a scholarship opportunity. Money is what you use to pay for college, and any help that I could receive in that regard is much appreciated. So I would say the scholarships are the second thing that I took from this. And the third thing that I took is just being able to meet people. When I was at Scholars Day, I met a lot of great people. And I'm not in touch with so many of them now, but in the moment, it was great to see what they were doing, great to see the work that they were involved with, what they wanted to be involved with. When I was in the passion projects and I was presenting my work on the robotics thing that I had done the past summer, I met a lot of people who wanted to be doctors. And even though, this wasn't my expertise at all, because I had no interest in being a medical doctor, I was able to explain to them what it was like creating the robotic arm that I had, which was used for medical purposes. And so it's great to see people in related fields that I was able to talk to about things that were in their field, even though I wasn't in that. And so I would say just meeting people and making connections would be the third thing that I really appreciate from my NSHSX experience.
Oh, that's wonderful, Rishi. I'm so happy you've been able to make so many connections and friends and opportunities and networks. And I love that. I love that it's been such a benefit for you. And we always appreciate that out of our members, of course. Leslie, that was my last question. I'm going to throw it back to you now and see if you have anything that you want to leave Rishi with before we close out for today.
Yeah, I think for me as the member engagement manager, and so much of what we focus on in other departments is about that collegiate experience, but community development and socialization is so important. And one of the things that you touched on quite a lot, Rishi, was about finding that work-life balance. I think that is so true for people who are transitioning from high school to college, and we have many members that are transitioning. We have new members who may be joining in their senior year that will be transitioning. And given that you have a very demanding academic workload, and then you're also doing an internship this summer, I was wondering, how do you find ways to make sure that you're maintaining that work-life balance? How do you kind of keep yourself calm if things get overwhelming? What do you try to do to work through that challenge?
Sure. So I would say during the school year, I try to join things that I'm interested in that give me an incentive, to stay with them. But I will say sometimes you have to sacrifice those things. And so I will say oftentimes, I'm going to be honest, I really don't have balance in terms of the things that I'm doing. There are certain weeks where I'm really only doing, schoolwork here and there. But I think the important thing is that within the things that you're doing, try to get some socialization. One of the biggest things that I did this past semester was I tried to work on be more involved with group projects in my classes. And so even though I wasn't getting the kind of balance where I was like, oh, I'm able to do this club and I'm able to do this academic thing, which I wasn't. I'm going to be honest, I'm still working on the balance part. But even though I wasn't getting that kind of balance, I was still getting the more important balance of seeing people while I was doing really important work. And I think that's the more important balance that you need to retain. It's not necessarily what you do as in clubs or activities and class. It's more of, are you able to get the social interaction that you need? Because that stuff is really important. And I would say if there's any balance to focus on, prioritize the balance between that and getting work done, because those two things are very, very vital in your college experience. But I think this past semester really taught me a lot about what I want from my college experience. So I would say this past semester, I was taking way too many classes for my own good. And that's part of the reason why I wasn't able to balance doing that along with a club, which is also like super interesting for me. And it was heartbreaking when I had to stop doing that to prioritize my coursework. And so what I did is I took less courses per semester from here on out. Before I was taking 5 or 6 courses, which can be quite a bit when you're doing upper levels. But from here on out, I told myself, no more than 4 every semester, because that's really all I can handle if I want to do coursework, do clubs, and get sleep and that kind of stuff. And I'll see how it goes. But I think objectively lowering the number of courses that you take, if you have that option, if you don't, obviously, go at it, put in the work to have however many classes you have to take. But if you have that option, lower the amount of classes you're taking every semester, because there's no rush to finish early. I get that some people do want to finish early because it's a tuition thing. And actually, if that's the case, then I guess do your best to do that. But if you have, good financial backing for college, then, give it a shot, try to take things slower than usual, because I think you'll find that when you slow down your experience, you tend to enjoy things more because you have more time for the things that you do enjoy. And Sophie, I think that's what you go by. I saw your question in the chat. What should I do when I struggle a lot with talking to people? I'm scared to even try. So I would say, people, if you are, I guess, more introverted, people can be very intimidating. But I would say try to, I guess, pad the experience of meeting people with doing things that you're interested in. Because if you are doing the same things that you're interested in other people, you suddenly have something that you relate on. So you don't have to make a conversation out of thin air. You don't have to find things about these people, because if they're at that club or organization, they're already interested in those same things that you are. So there's already something that you relate on. That's why I think clubs and activities are a great way to socialize, and to make friends, even if you're scared to try. And if you are scared to try, don't beat yourself up about it. This is a very real fear. It's not just public speaking, but it's just interpersonal relations. And everyone's got a different personality. Everyone lives at their own pace. But my best advice for you is just to talk to people in clubs and in different activities that you're doing, because you already have something that you relate on. And so there's already that bridge between you and everyone else.
I have an idea for a new club. It's going to be the Rishi Fan Club. I'm the founding member, and you're just going to talk about and give great advice all the time. How does that sound?
Sure. I'll be doing that at Scholars Day DC. Come to it. It's in August.
Yes, absolutely. We would love to have everyone come to Scholars Day DC. You can find more information about that, as I said, on our website. It is the first weekend of August, the 6th and the 7th. Rishi will be joining us on Saturday, the 7th, to chat with you all, share more experiences, and just, have you guys gain wisdom from being in his presence, which I feel like I've done this afternoon. Nikki, I don't know about you, but...
Absolutely. It's been so great. Rishi, seriously, on the back end over here, Leslie and I are just over here. Oh my God, that's such great advice. Oh, that's so great.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for this opportunity.
Yeah, it's
hopefully all
appreciate it.
Yep. And I guess hopefully all the attendees learned something from this experience. If you came early, if you came late, hopefully I had something to tell you. And I guess if you're watching the recording, hi, what's up? And I guess if you did come late, you can always catch the full recording at the end, because as Leslie told me, this will be up on YouTube.
Yes, it will. We will get this up on our YouTube channel right away so that everyone can enjoy it and take advantage of everything that you've been talking about. I think it's some great points, especially for our new members that are going to be starting this process soon, and that they can take advantage of all of those benefits and the resources that we have from our partners and from other leadership group members like yourself and the rest of the Collegiate Council Executive Board. They write blogs, they host webinars, and they attend our panels to give advice from a member perspective, which we greatly appreciate. You can search for all of those things on the website. If you have any specific questions or you would like to reach Rishi, he is also available. His information is on the website under Membership, Leadership Programs, Collegiate Council, or you can always reach out to me, leslie.walton@nshss.org. I'm happy to connect or to answer any questions that you might have. That's it for me today. This was a really informative, helpful, insightful conversation, and I just appreciate all of your time, Rishi, and just all of this great advice that you are able to give our members this afternoon. Thank you so much.
Sure thing. I appreciate all the panelists and attendees.
Great. Well, that being said, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. We hope that you'll check out the next Conversations with the Winner series, which will be July 15th, and we will have that information up on the website. And as always, be kind to one another, be kind to yourself, and good earth.